I'm a huge fan of bands like Tool, Perfect Circle, and Foo Fighters. And something that always captivated me
is their guitar tone.
But with monsters of tone of this caliber, you can imagine that they have the rigs to go with it. So today, my friend, we're gonna be making our first really complex rig in AMPLITUBE 5. I'm gonna dance this thing now. We break it down, baby. Alright, my friend, thank you so much for being here once again in another episode. And like I was saying in the intro, sometimes tones require way more
than meets the eye.
And of course, there's going to be a bunch of purists that are going to tell you,
just plug a Les Paul into a Marshall and you're set.
And you know, if that works for you, that's great. But if it doesn't, let's say if you have a little bit more refined ear, maybe today you can get a few cues that might help you when you're making your next tone. And the only disclaimer that I'm going to make is that today's video is going to require you to have a little bit of pre-knowledge about AMPLITUBE 5. And if you need some help with that, there's a ton of videos here in my channel. I invite you to go check them out. And of course, make sure that you like, subscribe, and do all those cool little things like blah, 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 blah. I'm getting a little bit sidetracked. Let's go get a guitar so we can get started. Today we're going to be using my Gibson Les Paul because I want to say that this is one of the most classic guitars used in that kind of music. Just the three bands that I mentioned, they definitely all use a Gibson and two of them use the Les Paul. Yeah, maybe the pickups are different too, but that's not here nor there. Let's stop the talking, get to the rocking, and make a guitar tone. So here we are on my computer, my friend, and as you can see, we have AMPLITUBE loaded up. And if you pay attention to this part of the rig, you're going to notice that today we're using 3 amps in one rig. And this would be the first time that we're exploring what we can do with this kind of technique in the studio. So right, let's move on. And this would be the perfect time for you to go get a great set of headphones, speakers, AirPods, whatever you may feel comfortable listening to music so that we can have a meaningful conversation in the comment section down below. All right, let's do this. All right, and first and foremost, let's see what we got. So there you go, you have a good idea of what we're listening to. Let's start dissecting it. Okay, so first thing in my chain, we have a gate and an overdrive. Let's turn it off so that we can hear what it all sounds like. Then let's go right here in our mixer and let's start by turning off this rig and this rig so that we can hear what we had originally when we had this like plexi style of amp, which would be like the version of connecting your Les Paul into just a Marshall and let it rip. But then right after that, we have my master section that, as you can see right here, I have a digital delay just in case we want to do like different kinds of riffs that may have a little bit of delay. But then I have a little bit of compression, a little bit of EQ, and then another little bit of EQ. Let's start by turning it all off. And let's just hear the Les Paul plugged into a Marshall. And as you can tell, that's not anywhere near enough gain. And you can, of course, like turn the gain up or whatever you want to do with the tone. Or you can just take my word for it that I already went that route. And what we're going to explore today, not only is more creative, but it gave me the tone that I was looking for. Because as you can see, there's a lot more stuff happening with it. So you can imagine that I tweaked these settings while listening to the other part and listening to a whole. So let's just move on. Okay, so the first thing is that this amp, this plexi, has a little bit of noise. So the way you fix that is by just putting a little bit of a gate right there. And important, my settings are release all the way fast and the depth all the way to whatever, I don't know, 100. And then your threshold, just adjust it until you don't hear the noise like you hear right here. I knew that I could go a little bit higher and that did. That way, when you're not playing, you don't have that going in the background. Okay, so now that we have our bass tone, which is that plexi amp, let's go see what happens here on the first few slots for pedals that we have right here that I'm only using a noise gate and this like Mudhoney overdrive. Let's hear what happens when I turn them on. A little bit better, right? Like we already hear that there's something coming out there. And then again, you can see pretty much the same settings that I'm using in the other gate. Release all the way fast and the depth to -100. And then in the overdrive, I'm keeping the gain and the level pretty much at 12 o'clock or 5. And then the tone, I'm going down to -2.2. And I want to encourage you to go play with the tone knob because That's basically what's going to give you the most difference in this particular pedal. And just listen what it's doing and how it's tightening the bottom end, how it accentuates the top end. Experiment with that knob so that you can get the tone that you want depending on the guitar that you have. But then we know that there was still something missing. And then my first instinct is just go and make a master chain right here that we saw. And I add a compressor, a couple EQs.
And let's hear what that does.
So there you go, that's a big difference. And as you can tell, I'm going for a little bit more aggression in the master section, mainly because I know that the more I hit this amp with distortion, the more noise I'm gonna have, and I'm trying to minimize the noise so that I can maximize the tone. And then in the moment of mixing, I'm not fighting on fixing issues, I'm just making this tone fit into your mix, right? And even though this tone sounds pretty good already, you know that we're gonna have a lot more fun with a triple stack setup. Do you use a triple stack setup in AMPLITUBE, or is this your first time seeing anything like this crazy? I'd be super curious to know, so please let me know in the comment section down below. And while you're there, remember to like, subscribe, and do all those cool little things that we like to do on YouTube. And enjoy this little bossa nova, my friend. I hope your day keeps getting better and better and better. Alright, let's go. Okay, so now for la pièce de résistance.
Let's go see what happens with this triple stack.
Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, let's hear the tone that we have right now. A pretty nice tone in its own right, but not exactly what we're looking for. So I'm gonna go right here to our mixer section, and I'm gonna go to our cap 2, and let's turn it on so we can hear what this guy is doing. So there you go, we have a lot more gain, but we don't have any more noise or any unwanted tones. Let's turn the other cab on so we can hear the finalized tone. So now that we heard it, let's go see what each amp is doing in this equation. So we already established that this plexi that we have is sort of like our bass tone. And what role am I giving it? Basically the body of the tone, and that's why I'm not distorting too much, right? Because I just want this amp to be the carrier of the note, of the chordal information that we have, right? And as you can see my silly settings, I have the bass pretty much almost all the way up, then my mid-range 6.7, treble at 5, and then my master 8.2, my gain at 5 again. But then very importantly, I have this little switch all the way to the left, which gives you like a little bit of a push in the gain department. And I thought it sounded pretty sweet. Then if we go to our cabinet section, this amp originally comes, I want to say, with the British 8000 Marshall, but I know for a fact that Brian Jones and all these people, they love to use a Mesa cabinet. So I did it, you know, out of habit kind of. But honestly, it just sounds a lot better. I want to say, let's check it out and then hear the difference really quick. And another one that's pretty common in that kind of setting is the Road King. Let's hear it. All of a sudden, it totally changes the character of the amp, right? So maybe if I were using this amp on its own, I would just use this Road King. But in this particular role that it's doing, I like it better with this guy. I don't know, in my head, it has like a certain like Tool element to it. In my opinion, this is the one that makes it sound Adam Jones the most.
Kind of.
But then, like we said, I still needed a little bit more distortion, sort of like what was happening here. So I come right here directly to a triple rectifier. And my settings are basically the treble all the way up, gain at 12 o'clock, very judicious, bass at 12 o'clock, presence at 8, and then my mid-range at 0, because I don't want to have any of the tone in this guy. I just want aggression basically from this guy, right? Let's turn it on right here on our mixer section. Boom, cabinet 2. So now let's hear both of them. So very, very different. And you might say, but Jorge, this is like the main amp now. Let's hear what happens if we mute the plexi. Then you realize that it's not so dominant. It's basically because what I am adding with the rectifier is not interfering with what's happening with the Marshall. They are just complementing each other, sort of like two pieces of a puzzle. And that's why the sound just gets
Bigger.
I just like it because it's so controlled, yet sounds wild too, right? And I feel like this part of the tone, if you don't add the last amp and you just keep it right here with the triple rectifier and the plexi, you get a pretty nice like Foo Fighters kind of tone. Let's hear it. And I feel like that just sounds pretty much right if we don't turn the last amp. But if you're here for blood, and you really want to get to that super next level, just like Tool or a Perfect Circle, then we go right here and we turn our third amp on, and let's hear what happens. And this one is basically the one that is adding that like frying pan effect. All the aggression that you need, and I'm telling you, in a mix, it just cuts through. But now if you can remember, I had that delay right here. Let's hear what happens if we turn it on and we play something like this. It adds a little bit of space, a little bit of vibe, and it gives us some flexibility because we already know that that same tone worked for both kind of scenarios. And if you want more difference of tone, change your pickup. Which I think it's pretty cool. And having heard all those examples, let's go get a few conclusions, my friend. So there you go, my friend. A classic 2000s rock guitar tone. Pretty nice, and I want to say easy in AMPLITUBE. But of course, there's a lot of thought behind it just to make sure that all the pieces fit. And of course, the biggest parts of the puzzle that I'm talking about, for example, it's drums, bass, vocals, solos, delays, reverbs, and all the elements that make a mix. So I was making sure that this tone would fit right into a mix without having to like really work too hard to do it. Just manipulate the top and bottom a little bit, maybe a little bit of the mids,
and you should be solid.
And if you take the time to make this tone on your own, try to play, for example, Tool songs and just try to remove the guitar part. I bet you it's gonna sound pretty similar. But of course, you have to double it on both sides and all that kind of stuff. And that stuff for a different day. But for now, my friend, I'm pretty happy where we at. But that doesn't really matter. What matters is what you have to say. And I want to hear all about it in the comment section down below. And if you stay here all this time till the very, very end, type patient in the comment section down below so we can have that little bit of fun. And of course, remember while you're there, like, subscribe. If you can financially support me, smash that super thanks button right there. I thank you so much. And if you have some more time to watch another video, go watch this one right here. I'll be waiting for you right there, my friend.